Gumball taking on Goku in a shower? That seems impossible, right? Gumball could beat Thanos if he really tried. Seriously? And since I'm sure you don't believe me, let's see what levels of power Gumball can reach and why he could become the most powerful being in animation. Let's start with the easiest part. You guys will remember that Gumball has several pretty strange abilities, and one of these is eating himself? Come on, guys! In the episode Procrastinators, we see how Gumball and even Darwin start to eat themselves, like everyone else, like crazy people, but they don't seem to feel any pain. We even see them return to normal as if nothing happened. And maybe many people agree that this seems like a really silly ability, and actually, it really is. But remember that you can even make the most out of poop. One big advantage I can see in this is that with this level of craziness, he could simply scare or drive his opponents crazy. So, since it's not that dangerous or deadly, it stays in last place. But come on, probably many of you have thought that what Gumball lacks is strength. But actually, in the episode Mustache, Gumball shows us a side of himself that we didn't know. And he basically turns into a Blue Hulk, since he gains truly impressive strength that even Tina didn't expect, because Gumball ends up getting angry with her. And suddenly he pulls out his huge King Kong arm and lands a tremendous punch on her, sending her flying and wiping her out for the second time. The boy with the sad eyes. Can you imagine how powerful that punch must have been to almost kill the poor dinosaur? Incredible, guys. Is it a T-Rex? Begin your calculations. Because Gumball sent almost 9 tons flying, and you can still see he had enough strength left to send Galactus flying back into space. What we're not sure about is whether he has enough strength to defeat Godzilla, since he weighs 99,634 tons. But this ability is in this position because it doesn't entirely belong to Gumball. Rather, it was acquired accidentally by consuming a supplement that wasn't his, which suggests that any of us could acquire this power. So let's move on to the next level, this next power. For some, it might just be a simple trick, but if you know how to use it correctly, of course, you could get Gumball out of a lot of trouble. And it's not just that he can become muscular by swallowing himself, but he also has a clay-like body. And this clay is way more resistant than Dolly the Dogman's own. We can find this superpower in the episode The Secret, and Gumball shows us that he can not only transform and mold his body however he wants. Just look at how, when he's thrown down the sewer, he simply transforms into drops of water. What, really? Is his body made of some kind of slime? But that's not all, guys, because later on we can see that when they fall, Darwin and Gumball fit perfectly inside a bottle. So, does that mean their density also decreases? Well, you'll be left wondering. So it's not just a pointless ability, because with this kind of power, Gumball could work really well as a spy, or even sneak through unimaginable places to escape from some kind of danger. Something like Gomi Luigi, who saved everyone's butt, because without him everything would have gone down the drain. But in Gumball's case, since he doesn't put humanity or other people's lives at risk, that's why we put him at a low power level. At this point, we're already moving up the power scale and we're at a medium level. Since not just anyone could modify their DNA, right? Well, this is what happens with Gumball. The little blue cat can undergo any mutation or body modification. But this isn't the most impressive part. What's really crazy is yet to come. He literally takes the DNA out of his body and starts modifying each of the fibers that make up the DNA. Every move he makes means a mutation. This is something really impressive and a bit crazy if you ask me. The thing is, Gumball apparently has no idea how this ability works, since he just moves the fibers however he wants. This takes away a few points from his superpower, but he still remains at a medium power level. Because if Gumball ever figures out how to modify DNA in a more strategic way, who knows what could happen? He could achieve all kinds of changes? We could even end up seeing all the X-Men mutations 100% improved, something like the Omnitrix that Ben 10 has. It's just that Gumball does it by hand, and we start moving up to Gumball's most extreme levels. And from this point on, things really do start to get serious. Gumball has shown us several times that he has an incredible ability to handle and control time. In fact, in one episode where Gumball and Darwin only have 6 minutes left so that Miss Simian doesn't mark them as late, we see how Gumball does his thing and manipulates time to gain an advantage. This happens because Gumball rushes to avoid running out of his 6 minutes. He ran so fast and wildly that he crashed into the camera filming the show. And of course, we already know that Gumball is one of those who can break the fourth wall. So thanks to this and the fact that he broke the camera, the timer that was counting the 6 minutes ends up stopping. And Gumball and Darwin see this as an advantage. They goof off doing silly things until they get bored and decide they have to bring time back to normal. This power is a pretty good and useful one, but obviously it had to have its flaws. And the thing is, Gumball isn't an expert in time travel either, since he doesn't know what he's doing. Where is he going to end up? Or even, what are the consequences that certain actions will have? Even if they seem insignificant, like for example when they accidentally hit an ape and everything in their present ends up changing and they end up creating several clones of themselves. But if they could control it, if they could achieve it, without a doubt, they would all be indestructible gods. So, for this reason, this power remains among the most powerful. Remember, they defeated Thanos using time travel. Next, we consider it one of the most impressive powers in all of Gumball, and that's because Gumball is able to create a super expansive wave. Just with his words. Really, friends? In the episode The Best, Gumball shows us that he's a warrior who went through a whole training just to win arguments. Well, meanwhile, little Cactus is bothering poor Gumball, criticizing him for everything he does. She never imagined she would end up completely destroyed just by a few words from Gumball. Gumball! At a certain point, he gets fed up with all the criticism and starts throwing responses at the critic, hitting her so hard that she even ends up with a black eye. But for me, Gumball was simply humble, because in this fight he really could have split the critical Cactus in two. Because every response he gave translated into well-structured and solid arguments that became the most powerful verbal weapon, one that not even Master of Ceremonies Dinero could defeat. The angrier you make Gumball, the better his responses will be, which will cause him to end up completely destroying his enemies just by talking. And before I tell you about the greatest superpower that Gumball has, which would definitely destroy an entire universe, let's talk about an honorable mention. Throughout the episodes, we haven't just seen Gumball do incredible things, but he's also obtained artifacts that make him practically indestructible. And in this spot, we find that remote that gives Gumball the power to control time. He's able to fast forward, rewind, or even pause everything that's happening in his world. It's kind of like the remote from the movie Click. I even think they were inspired by that remote to give one to Gumball. And wow, this really does have a lot of power, but obviously it's just an honorable mention. Because it's not part of Gumball, it's just a device that gives him too many advantages. But with everything else about Gumball, by having this remote, would he become such a powerful and unstoppable being? Now, the ability that makes Gumball the most powerful in his universe. And even from other animations, it's about his incredible Super Saiyan transformation, or well, his super transformation. And you're gonna tell me I'm crazy, but can he really reach the super level? Where his strength multiplies by an impressive amount that would leave everyone in his world defenseless. Would they really have no advantage against Gumball? And still, if we add all the previous abilities to this, he would become an omnipotent super god. Just imagine Gumball, able to modify his DNA, control space-time, and with his super speed. What could you do against that? Here, he could really go toe-to-toe with Goku Super Saiyan 3 himself, and he would leave Superman eating dust on the pavement. Gumball, with all his combined abilities, is at the level of the gods. He's only limited by his lack of maturity, awareness, and strategy. If he had Batman's mind, Goku's training, and Rick Sanchez's ambition, he would be a complete animated god. But what do you think about how strong Gumball is? Would you dare to fight him? Tell us, what other character could stand up to Gumball and maybe even beat him? We'll read your comments.